Alright, so this guy walks into a Hollywood agency and he's like, "Have I got a pitch for you?" The agent leans back in his chair and says, "Okay, tell me about your pitch." And then the guy goes into great detail about his pitch, a sitcom about a family with some rather unusual personalities. Starting with the father. He's an ex-Marine who decided to get into yodeling, and every Saturday he goes yodeling in the local Meadow Hill in his lederhosen. Let me remind you that this dude is an ex-Marine. You know, the kind of guy with big muscular arms, probably a tattoo of a battleship on one of them, and he looks like he just ate a can of spinach. So imagine a guy like that, dressed in lederhosen, skipping around on a hill while he's yodeling. Now, the mother is desperately trying to bring disco back from the dead. She's got incredibly shiny outfits, the shiniest you can possibly imagine, and she wears her hair in an afro 24/7. And her catchphrase, because every good sitcom needs at least one catchphrase that the fans are gonna quote constantly, her catchphrase would be some sort of 70s slang, something like, "Yo! Digging it!" The teenage daughter is, of course, an absolute fashionista, but the twist here is that she's the one to deviate from the latest trends, and she doesn't care if she looks ridiculous, which she often does. Ironically enough, though, sometimes her crazy fashion choices become new crazes, which she's not sure how to feel about. And honestly, who can blame her? Anyway, the elementary-age son is a real tech whiz who could probably program a working printer before breakfast, and he's got all these fancy gadgets and inventions. It's crazy. And then there's the uncle, who lives with them. He's a major hippie who owns like 5 lava lamps, and all of his shirts are tie-dye. You know, with the psychedelic splashes of color all over them. Also, they own a pet penguin, and the neighbors are a troupe of circus clowns. And there'd be this, like, running gag of said neighbors piling into / pouring out of their own family car, which would, of course, be ridiculously tiny. You know, like a Mini Coupe, or something. Now, the agent, he looks baffled. After a few seconds of stunned silence, he finally manages to get his thoughts out. "Wow," he says. "What do you call a show like that?" And then the guy who pitched the whole thing, a goofy smile sprawls across his face, the goofiest smile you've ever seen, as he stands proudly with his hands on his hips. And he says, "I call it the Aristocrats."